I stood in the hallway outside the Grandview Hotel ballroom, watching the wedding coordinator check her seating chart for the third time. My sister Jessica's wedding was 30 minutes from starting, and apparently my assigned table was causing problems. "I'm so sorry about this," the coordinator said, not meeting my eyes. "There's been a change. You're no longer at table 6. "Where am I sitting?" She hesitated. "Table 18. In the back area. Near the kitchen entrance." I didn't need to ask why. Jessica had made her feelings clear at last night's rehearsal dinner. "I can't have my single, unemployed sister at a prominent table, Natalie. Looks bad. All my important guests are bringing successful partners. You're 31 and alone. It's embarrassing." What Jessica didn't know was that I wasn't unemployed. I'd left my State Department job 6 months ago because I'd been recruited as Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the President's National Security Council. The position required absolute discretion. I'd signed NDAs that made classified clearance look casual. I coordinated with foreign dignitaries, managed sensitive international relationships, and briefed the President's senior staff on global security matters. I'd had dinner at the White House 4 times in 2 months. But I couldn't tell anyone until my appointment was publicly announced next month. Jessica left my job and not dating anyone, and decided I was a failure. She'd spent 6 months making comments about my situation, and how I needed to get my life together. Our mother had joined in, worried I was wasting my potential. None of them had asked what I was actually doing. "Table 18 is fine," I told the coordinator. The ceremony was beautiful. Jessica looked stunning, marrying Dylan, whose family owned luxury hotels. I sat in the back row behind a pillar that partially blocked my view. Jessica had assigned ceremony seats too, ensuring important people had the best sight lines. The reception began with cocktail hour in the garden. I nursed champagne and made small talk with distant cousins. Jessica floated through the crowd, stopping to chat with every important guest, pointedly bypassing me. Dylan's mother Charlotte found me near the hors d'oeuvres. "You must be Natalie, Jessica's sister. I'm so sorry about your employment situation. Jessica mentioned you've been struggling. If you need references for administrative positions, Dylan's hotel chain is always hiring front desk staff." "That's kind of you," I said neutrally. "It must be difficult being single and unemployed at your age. But don't give up hope." She patted my arm and moved on to greet more important guests. I checked my phone discreetly. 3 urgent messages from my NSC assistant. A situation was developing in Southeast Asia that required my attention. I'd need to make calls after dinner. "Ladies and gentlemen, please find your seats," the coordinator announced. I made my way to table 18, tucked in the back corner near the kitchen doors. My table mates were Jessica's college roommate's boyfriend, 2 of Dylan's distant cousins, and several people who seemed equally confused about their placement. The main tables were front and center. Jessica and Dylan's table was on a raised platform, surrounded by family and VIP guests. My parents sat at table 2 with Dylan's parents and business partners. Table 18 was where you put people you had to invite but didn't want anyone to notice. Dinner service began at the front tables. We watched waiters deliver the first course to the VIP section while we waited. And waited. "I think they forgot about us," Dylan's cousin muttered after 20 minutes. Then I heard the commotion at the entrance. Raised voices. The coordinator looking panicked. And then I saw them. 2 men in dark suits with earpieces scanning the room. "Secret Service." "Build up." The music stopped. Conversations died as everyone turned to look. The Secret Service agents were speaking urgently with the coordinator, who kept shaking her head and gesturing at her seating chart. Then he walked in. Andrew Morrison. The president's son. I'd worked with Andrew twice in the past month. He served as a special advisor on youth policy and occasionally sat in on NSC briefings. He was professional, intelligent, and dedicated to public service despite constant media scrutiny. He was supposed to be in California this weekend. Our eyes met across the ballroom. He smiled, his real smile, not his public one, and started walking toward me. The Secret Service agents flanked him, and every person in the room watched him cross the ballroom, past the VIP tables, past my parents, past Jessica's raised platform. He walked straight to table 18. "Natalie," he said warmly. "I'm so sorry I'm late. The summit ended early and I couldn't miss your sister's wedding." The ballroom went completely silent. 300 guests stared. Jessica's face had gone white. Charlotte looked struck. My mother's mouth hung open. Andrew, I managed. I didn't expect. You said you couldn't make it. I couldn't miss it. Not after you invited me 3 months ago. He looked at the table at the kitchen doors behind us, understanding immediately. This is your assigned table? Yes. Interesting. He turned to the Secret Service agents. This is Natalie Chin. We'll be staying at this table. The coordinator rushed over, nearly tripping. Mr. Morrison, I apologize. There's been a terrible mistake. We have a place of honor prepared at the main table. If you'll just follow me. I'm perfectly comfortable here, Andrew said pleasantly. Natalie invited me as her guest. I'll sit at her table. Jessica appeared, wedding smile stretched tight. Andrew, Mr. Morrison, we're honored by your presence. But really you should be seated with the family. With the important guest. Not back here. Natalie is family, isn't she? Andrew's tone was polite but steel underneath. Your sister? Surely that makes this a family table. Well, yes, but, Jessica floundered. We just thought with Natalie's current situation. Her current situation, Andrew repeated. You mean her position as Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the National Security Council? That situation. The silence deepened. Dylan had joined Jessica. I'm sorry, did you say National Security Council? I did. Natalie has been serving in the White House for 6 months. She coordinates with foreign heads of state, manages sensitive diplomatic relationships, and briefs the president's senior staff regularly. She has higher security clearance than most generals. Andrew smiled at me. She's also the person who made sure our recent negotiations with 3 Southeast Asian nations didn't collapse. The president personally thanked her at last week's briefing. My mother had stood up from table 2. Natalie works at the White House? She does. For 6 months. Her appointment will be publicly announced next month, but given the circumstances I think the secrecy has outlived its usefulness. He looked at Jessica. You seated her in the back. Near the kitchen. Because you thought she was unemployed and unsuccessful. Charlotte found her voice. But Jessica said she told us Natalie was struggling, unemployed. I left state because I was recruited for something bigger, I said quietly. But I couldn't tell anyone due to NDAs and security protocols. Jessica never asked what I was doing. She just assumed. You let us think you were failing, Jessica said, voice rising. You let Mom worry. I tried to tell you I was fine. Multiple times. You didn't want to hear it. The Secret Service agents took positions near our table, which meant the president's son was officially staying in the back corner. Wedding photographers were taking pictures, recognizing this was the story now. Dylan's father approached, businessman's smile in place. Mr. Morrison, surely you'd be more comfortable at a better table. We can rearrange. I'm comfortable here, Andrew said. Though I'm curious why Natalie was seated here. She invited me 3 months ago. When I RSVP'd, I indicated I'd be attending as her guest. The invitation was sent to the White House. The coordinator checked her tablet, fingers shaking. Yes, we received the RSVP. From a White House email. We thought it was a prank. You thought the president's son RSVPing was a prank, Andrew said. And rather than verify, you ignored it? Jessica told us to ignore it, the coordinator said quickly. She said her sister didn't know anyone important. All eyes turned to Jessica. I didn't think, Jessica started. You didn't think your unemployed sister could possibly know the president's son, Andrew finished. So when his office RSVP'd, you dismissed it rather than considering you might not know everything about her life. My mother had made her way over. Natalie, sweetheart, why didn't you tell us? I tried, Mom. Last month I mentioned international negotiations. You told me to stop daydreaming and find a real job. At Christmas I said I'd been briefing senior officials. You asked if I meant the manager at wherever I was working. But the White House. I signed legally binding confidentiality agreements. I couldn't discuss my work until my appointment was publicly announced. The penalties included criminal prosecution and termination. Andrew's phone buzzed. He smiled slightly. The press has picked this up. President's son refuses VIP seating to stay with White House staffer in back corner. It's trending. Jessica looked like she might cry. Her perfect wedding, her strategic seating chart, all upstaged by the sister she'd hidden in the back. The White House press office is requesting a statement, Andrew continued. They want to confirm your appointment early. Are you comfortable with that, Natalie? I nodded. Then it's official. Natalie Chen's position as Senior Diplomatic Liaison for the National Security Council is public knowledge. He looked at Jessica. Congratulations on your wedding. I'm sure it will be remembered. Dinner service finally reached our table. First, because the Secret Service had informed catering they needed to serve the president's son immediately. We ate while the rest of the ballroom whispered and stared. Charlotte approached again, earlier condescension replaced with desperate networking energy. Natalie, I hope there are no hard feelings. Perhaps we could discuss opportunities. Dylan's hotels do international business and having White House connections. I don't use my position to facilitate private business, I said. That would violate ethics rules. She retreated, deflated. The rest of the reception was surreal. Guests who'd ignored me during cocktail hour now wanted to talk. Jessica and Dylan cut their cake with forced smiles while photographers captured the president's son at table 18. My father pulled me aside during dancing. I'm sorry, Nat. For not believing in you, for not asking better questions. Your mother and I are proud of you. We should have said that 6 months ago. Jessica approached as the reception wound down, makeup streaked with tears. You ruined my wedding. I didn't do anything, Jess. You seated me in the back, assumed I was unsuccessful, and dismissed a White House RSVP because you couldn't imagine I might know important people. Your assumptions ruined your wedding, not me. You could have told me before today. I tried. You didn't want to hear it. And legally I couldn't give you details. Andrew and I left before the send-off. The Secret Service swept us out a side entrance while photographers shouted questions. I'm sorry about the media circus, I said in the car. Not your fault. People like your sister need to learn that success doesn't always look the way they expect. That someone working quietly in public service might be more important than all their society connections combined. The story dominated news for 3 days. I gave one official interview explaining that public service often requires discretion and sacrifice, including letting family misunderstand your choices. Jessica sent one text a week later. I'm sorry. I should have known you better. I didn't respond. Some relationships take time to repair. My official appointment was announced the following month. The ceremony was attended by senior officials, foreign ambassadors, and my parents, who finally understood what I'd been building. Table 18 became shorthand in political circles for underestimating someone based on appearances. I received dozens of messages from people who'd been dismissed, thanking me for highlighting that value isn't always visible. I kept working, kept negotiating, kept managing crises most people would never know about. The wedding incident faded from news cycles. But I never forgot the lesson. That success built on competence and discretion is worth more than success built on appearances. That real power doesn't need a prominent seat. It commands respect wherever it sits. And that sometimes, the person everyone dismisses in the back corner is the most important person in the room.